Hello there, welcome to the program. I am Imoni Amarere. This outgoing week has been a very eventful one in terms of the long-running security challenges confronting the nation. In the last couple of days, scores of people have been killed, wounded, abducted, and displaced by terrorist groups, which Nigerians choose to call bandits. Nigeria's foremost military training institution, the Nigerian Defense Academy (NDA), was attacked by unknown gunmen who killed 2 officers, critically wounded 1 and abducted another. The abductors have since reportedly demanded for a 200 million naira ransom for the kidnapped officer. Many are still at a loss as to how the bandits pulled off such a daring operation right in the heart of the Nigerian military institution. And as if that was not bad enough, bloodthirsty bandits invaded communities in Plateau and Benue states and proceeded to roast, slaughter, and maim scores of defenseless men, women, and children in the most barbaric manner. All these in addition to the other daily stories of attacks carried out by bloodthirsty gangsters across many states in the country, but particularly in the northern states. In apparent reaction to the ravages of insecurity, the Zamfara state governor, one of the states who was affected, that's talking about Bello Matawale, called for a declaration of a state of emergency on security in all the states in northern Nigeria. Before that proposal to the federal government, the governor of Katsina State, another state that has been a frontline state of insecurity, Bello Masari, had called on citizens of the state to take up arms and defend themselves against the marauding bandits who have made life unbearable for them. Expectedly, there have been mixed reactions to these calls. Various groups and individuals have either thrown their weights behind the proposals or have outrightly denounced and rejected them. However, several questions linger. What is a state of emergency? How will it function or operate if and when imposed on states of the northern region? What will be its likely impact on the security situation in the affected states? Whose responsibility is it to defend and protect the lives and properties of the people? Section 14, subsection 2b of the Nigerian Constitution makes the security and welfare of the people the primary duty and purpose of government. But what happens if the government is unable or unwilling or in fact fails to provide for the security and welfare of its citizens? Section 33, subsection 1 also provides that every person has a right to life and no one shall be deprived intentionally of his life, save in execution of a sentence of a court in respect of a criminal offense. The Supreme Court of Nigeria in 2019 further reinforced that provision by guaranteeing the right of a person to defend his life and property from any unlawful violence. Is the individual person obliged to depend entirely on government to protect his life and property, even in the face of obvious failure of the state? Will citizens' action be a result to self-help and a descent into anarchy and Hobson's state of nature? Without run contrary to the letters, the spirit, and the intendment of the Constitution? Well, these are the issues we intend to find some answers to on the program today. Join us as we examine all the issues and answer all the questions around it. And we shall meet our guests right after now.
Are in trouble. So this is not the matter of politics, as I have been said time without numbers, that the issue of security is for all the citizens, not just for security or for government. But it was unfortunate here in the north, particularly some politicians are happy with what is happening because what they think is it was when people being killed that they may have some way to come out and campaign and blackmails sitting governors, the president, and other politicians, which is unfortunate, and particularly here in Zamfara State. Because if you look at what is happening, some of the reporting, particularly on social media, which was sponsored by politicians in the state, I was just talking to the CP that they have to go harder to such kind of people because we come to understand if there is any attack or before the attack, there is some people that they used to post it before even the attack. And immediately when the attack was carried out, the same people will posted what happened. Who is giving them the information? How did they know these people that are going to carry the attack? What is their links between them and those criminals? So security has to look into this critically and seriously and arrest any person found guilty on such act. Because those are the people that doesn't want this country to be in peace. So it is your responsibility to take up this matter serious and to be off to your own duty. Because you are here to protect the people's life and their properties and to arrest any criminals who doesn't show love and cares to the people of this nation.
Zamfara State Governor Bello Matawalle there making a call on the federal government to declare a state of emergency insecurity in northern states. We will meet our guests right after this short break. All right, let's meet our guests. Two of them are right here with us in the studio, and a third will be joining us virtually. Right here in the studio is Professor Kamal Bello. Professor Bello is a professor of politics and administration at the National Open University of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor Bello. We're also joined by Max Oga. Max Oga is a legal practitioner. He's based here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me once again.
Right. Well, we'll be joined from New York in the United States by Abba Kaka, who is a security specialist. Thank you so much, Mr. Kaka, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Great, welcome. Okay, so let me begin from here. Let me possibly begin from a legal point of view. Mr. Oga,
Yes,
what
sir.
is a state of emergency as possibly prescribed by Section 305 of the Nigerian Constitution?
Well, because not all of us who are listening to this program or participating in this program are lawyers, I want to put it as simple as possible. A state of emergency is the application of extraordinary measures towards the resolution of a challenge. In the context of this discussion, we're talking about the state of insecurity in our country, Nigeria. So a state of emergency, therefore, in this context, will be the application of extraordinary measures towards resolving the security challenges we are all being confronted with. And I'm going to take you to a case that has thrown up a lot of controversies, the case of Asari Dokubo and Federal Republic of Nigeria, where the Supreme Court said, when it comes to national security, that fundamental rights or individual rights should take a back seat. A lot of people are not comfortable with that, but that's the truth. So if we declare a state of emergency in the north now as being proposed, or as the government is being advised to do, certain rights which are alienable to Nigerians living in the affected states may be affected. We all had the governor of Zamfara a few minutes ago talking about people who have full knowledge of these attacks, that they post these things in the social media. These things happen exactly the way the people posted them, and after they happen, the same people report these things. So such people's rights of privacy may be trampled upon when we declare, or when a state of emergency is declared. Ordinarily, nobody can meet a professor on the road, for instance, and say, look, let me have your phone. What videos do you have there? What kind of information do you share? That would be infringing on his right of privacy. But once we declare a state of emergency, that right, which the Constitution guarantees for him, may be infringed upon. So we can get to the root of the people who are sponsoring these things, the people who are sharing information on all of this. So in summary, taking extraordinary steps towards solving a problem is synonymous with declaring a state of emergency in that area. Declaring a state of emergency is not only applicable to security. You can declare a state of emergency in the health sector of a state or of a country. You can declare a state of emergency as it affects the educational sector in a state or a country. But once again, like I said earlier on, in this context, we are talking about security.
Prof, flowing from that, do you think that the situation we have on our hands today in terms of insecurity is bad enough to warrant the kind of recommendation that was made by the Zamfara State Governor?
Thank you. To start with, may the soul of those who have been killed during this insecurity, may their soul rest in peace. Amen. And we pray that God, in His infinite mercy, will bring us the solutions to these incessant killings, because it's affecting everything in our life. Having said that, if you look at what is in the media in terms of this insecurity, definitely, one will say there's a need for declaration of state of emergency. But the question we should ask ourselves is that a state of emergency, do we understand it? The concept, the conceptual clarification of state of emergency. In 2003, President Obasanjo declared state of emergency in some states. Plateau, Oyo, and Co. Some people came later that declaration of state of emergency is a violation of the Constitution. And by definition, declaration of state of emergency will violate the Constitution. As the lawyer has said, it will violate the rights of individual. So are we set, or do we understand the concept of state of emergency?
But it's provided for in section 305 of the Constitution. If the Constitution did not envisage this kind of situation, it would not, there wouldn't be that provision in the first place. So where is the violation coming from?
No, the problem, that's what we are saying. That's what I'm trying to say. The problem is that we understand there's a constitutional provision, and if it's declared, all of us are ready to abide by it, or some will go in the name of human rights fighters to go to court and challenge. So those are the things we need to understand. Even the governor that is asking for it, he should sit down and ask himself, that is he ready for state of emergency? Did he understand the concept? Did he understand the constitutional provision of state of emergency? If all this is done with what we are seeing in the media about insecurity, it is high time we declare state of emergency. But the big question is that, are we ready for it? because we have to suspend the constitution. If possible, you remove the governor and put a sole administrator. Will some people not go to the court to challenge it? There's a violation of right. As the barrister said, he said there must be suspension of rights. You must trample on our rights if you declare state of emergency. There are certain rights we are enjoying now. By the time we declare state of emergency, we will not have that right again. Are we ready? Do you understand what it means? Do you understand the magnitude of state of emergency? It is ripe with what we have been hearing, killing here, killing there, entering the NDA, entering barracks. Mamelari barracks have been entered how many times in Maiduguri? And damages were caused. So the question is that, are we ready for state of emergency? Do we understand the concept of state of emergency? Do we understand it will trample on our rights? And are we ready to follow? I remember there was a time, the chief of army staff, the last chief of army staff announced that everywhere in certain area of the country, you must go with your ID card. If you want to pass, you must show your ID card. Some rights fighters challenge it. There's a violation of right. So are we ready? That's the question we should ask ourselves.
All right. Well, we'll come back to the operation of a state of emergency, whether or not it actually would result in some abrogation of certain political offices and rights. But let me turn to Abba. Abba, I want you to begin by taking a very careful look at the security situation in Nigeria today. Against the backdrop of the very recent events, the security breach at the NDA, the killings in Plateau, the killings in Benue, the killings in other parts of the country that have taken place. Now, we have continued to call those who are perpetrating these acts, these very criminal acts, as bandits. Some people who insist that they have gone beyond banditry, this might be an extension of terrorism.
Okay, state of emergency by itself is a, draconian measures to suspend all the rights and privileges in the Nigerian Constitution. And usually it's taken at a drastic and last option. As you are aware, former President Obasanjo used it, but it didn't work. If you are talking about dismantling, democratic structures, that cannot work because we are running a democratic system whereby, this military mentality itself has to stop, because you have to find a way of solving your insecurity problems, not going to the draconian way of the military or former president like Obasanjo did. But the issue is, as the Prof has said, a lot of people don't even understand the concept itself, because this concept is calling for the suspension of all rights and privileges of citizens, which is not acceptable. What we need is complete, and this government actually should stop whatever else they are doing and focus squarely on the issue of security, or in this case, insecurity. The governor of Zamfara State, as the Prof was saying, I don't know whether he is also willing to vacate his seat, and how many other governors in the north are also willing to vacate their seats to have this insecurity, the emergency itself is unconstitutional, it's not acceptable, and it's a concept that doesn't actually work. But what we need is massive investment in security. Even if you declare state of emergency in all the states, it's the same security architecture that has failed, or the same system or institutions that have failed to protect us, Nigerians, are the ones that will be running the show again. So what are you looking for? If it was there, if there's no two ways about it, whether you like it or not, we have to reject our security forces. There's a failure across board of institutions that are mandated by law to take care of citizens. It is really embarrassing what is really happening. It's like, unfortunately, look at what is happening in Afghanistan. The trained military of that country just failed to work and just surrendered to the Taliban, who are terrorists, And what do you get? Look at the mess that is going on. People are dying every day. And I'm really afraid that we are not going that route, because what we need is the heads needs to roll. This president has to wake up. He has to wake up from whatever else he's doing to handle this matter. He has not even spoken to Nigerians. Look at President Biden. In the last 4 or 5 days, he has spoken 3-4 times to the American people. These people, the Nigerians, deserve, silence is not golden. This is a very, very serious security breach that is going on. Of all places, NDA was attacked. They said there is inside job. They said there are politicians involved. Why can't they unravel which politicians are behind this? What is the government afraid of? Take the bull by the horn and get to it. And this is what is failing this country right now. And this government came to power on 3 cardinal principles of security, job creation, and the economy. And it's just unbelievable what is happening. It's just totally unacceptable. If people cannot be able to handle their jobs, they should be rolled over. Let new blood take over. I don't understand what's happening. The president needs to start firing people left, right, and center and hold them accountable to their constitutional mandate. And this is what is missing. Regardless of the kind of money we are spending, billions of dollars are going down the drain, and this is what we're getting. This is totally unacceptable.
From a security perspective, Mr. Kaka, from a security man's perspective, can we still draw a line between banditry and terrorism in our situation in Nigeria today?
Absolutely. You can do that, but the problem is, some of these acts, you don't know whether it's the bandits or politicians or internal sabotage. All 3 factors need to be investigated, because there's a lot of disgruntled elements within the security system itself, within the military, within the SS, and the police, and we don't understand why this internal sabotage is real. It's so real, but the institutions are failing to unravel them, because some of them, look at this banditry, Mr. Amore. These millions of naira going to the bushes. What are you going to do with millions of naira in the bush? Obviously, it finds itself back to the cities. So the security architecture cannot tell us that they don't know where this money is coming back to, or they are not part of it. Some of them are part of it, part and parcel of it. This is enough. Is enough. This president needs to wake up and do his job. We are tired of AIDS addressing us. Today is Garba Shehu, tomorrow is Femi, tomorrow is somebody else. Nigeria did not elect them to do this job. So this president and this government needs to wake up. If the politicians, the current deputy speaker has said it, Senator Rochas Okorocha has said it, Senator Ali Ndume has said it, that politicians are involved. If they are aware that politicians are involved, what is the government waiting for? Or are the politicians their own men and women? This needs to, because this country is heading the wrong direction for the past how many years, I don't understand. This is enough. It's enough that all these massive investments, money going down the drain, and nobody is held responsible. Nobody is being fired. You know, look at the level of corruption that is going on in this country. It's mind-boggling. And this should end now.
All right, Mr. Kaka, please stay with us, stay on the line with us. Let me turn to Mr. Oga. I need you to help us understand the concept of a state of emergency as provided by Section 305 of the Constitution. Does it include the dismantling of democratic structures? Is the template the same as what we saw under former President Obasanjo?
No, certainly.
Or it was pushed?
No, certainly not. Certainly not. Former President Obasanjo overshot when he took out Joshua Darie from office in Plateau. He took out Ayo Fayose from office in Ekiti. He took out. Okay, let's restrict ourselves to those two states. Yeah, he took out these governors from office. A state of emergency does not necessarily mean the removal or the dismantling. Let me borrow Prof's language. The dismantling of political structures in a state. I say this because when we say we should declare a state of emergency in education or in the educational sector, are we saying a state governor should be removed, or the Commissioner of Education in a particular state should be removed, or the Minister of Education should be removed? No. We are saying go an extra mile to solve this problem. Now, I do not think that the governor of Zamfara, who is advocating for a state of emergency, wants to give up his office. Let's look at it from this perspective. Assuming the Constitution allows only 10,000 policemen, it's an assumption, to serve in a particular state. When you declare a state of emergency, you can raise the number to 20, 30, 40, 50,000. Right? Assuming before a penny is spent on security, a certain organ of government must give approval, procurement approval, and all of that. When you declare a state of emergency, you are going to bypass all of these procurement processes. Our governors have been crying every day that they are only chief security officers of their states on paper. So when you declare a state of emergency, for instance, you may empower a state governor to give directives to a commissioner of police or a brigade commander who heads a military formation in that state to act without necessarily this people waiting for orders and directives from the center. So I say all of this to say, sir, that a state of emergency, a declaration of a state of emergency, does not necessarily mean the dismantling of political structures. Not at all. Right now, a journalist is not under an obligation to disclose his or her source of information. But when you declare a state of emergency, if a certain media house has used a video of an attack by bandits or terrorists, whatever we want to call them, you can put your feet down that media house should disclose to you the source of that video. Because once you begin to trace the source, Mr. A, living in XYZ state, forwarded this video to us. They will reach out, they will trace, that line. Ordinarily, without a state of emergency being declared, you cannot use force for a media house or a journalist to disclose all of this information to you. You cannot, because you are after bandits or terrorists, break into someone's house. But once we declare a state of emergency, that's why I said earlier on that it will lead to the trampling
of certain fundamental
rights.
Yes.
But it will help us. And before you ask, let me address some issues that Mr. Kaka raised. We must stop the blame game that is going on. And the president addressing us on an hourly basis will not solve the problem. We need to up our stakes when it comes to intelligence gathering. There's a lot of selling out going on. I say this with due respect. there's a lot of compromise going on amongst our security agencies and their personnel. Oh yes, a lot of the people who attack get information. You know, so if we declare a state of emergency, you may say, for instance, everyone who is in the theater of war, you are not allowed to use your GSM phone. You use a two-way radio. Because when you hear of ambushes, people who are to go out with their bosses are the ones who give information. We are leaving at quarter after 10. We should be where you people are at about 28 minutes after 10 or 10:30. So the enemy will now plan a successful attack. We need to address all of these things. Then there is something we are taking our minds away from. A lot of our friends and our brothers who are involved in these things, policemen, soldiers, other military personnel, they are making so much money from this. So they are tactically encouraging what is going on. Politicians are also trading on all of this and trying to gain from the things that are going on. So we must, like the governor of Zamfara said, look at this thing beyond politics. Look at this thing beyond gender. Look at this thing beyond religion. Look at this crisis beyond ethnicity. We must tell ourselves the truth. Whoever is doing anything that is compromising our security situation should be picked out and dealt with. But the problem is, do we have the willpower or the political will to look at the people who are behind all of this, to tell them the truth, to bring them out and punish them? I do not think so. Let me address this. Section 14 sub 2 paragraph B of the Constitution says government. But a lot of us, because of sentiments, we are restricting it to the federal government. It says the primary purpose of government. Government includes the federal government, the state governments, and the local governments. We have 774 local governments. We have 36 states, including the government of the FCT, which technically by section 209, 299, and 301 of the Constitution is also a state. So we have 37 states with governments. So it is the responsibility of all of these governments to protect lives and properties and provide for the people. So let's tell ourselves the truth. Let state governors take responsibility. Let local government chairmen take responsibility for the security of lives and properties in their domains.
Now, I guess what Mr. Kaka was talking about when he says the president does not should speak to Nigerians more often is that somehow it has some kind of psychological effect and impact on the populace. When they hear from their president, when they hear from their state governors, or when they hear from their local government chairman on a regular basis, discussing issues and talking about issues that affect their lives on a day-to-day basis. They have some level of assurances that, look, these things have been attended to. Not only when they hold security meetings behind closed doors and nobody gets to, know or hear exactly what has been discussed or what is going to be done and all of that. I guess that's what Mr. Abba is talking about when he talks about having to hear from the president.
Yes, I have a ready answer to
I
that.
think you have answered that. That
Okay,
is
sir.
state governors and local government. So it's part of government.
That is it.
It's not the only president should be talking.
Yes.
Let the governors and the local government chairmen engage us too.
All right. Well,
That's what he's saying. Yes.
yeah, so Prof, the dictionary definition of a state of emergency talks about a situation of a national danger or disaster in which a government suspends normal constitutional procedures in order to regain control. The operative word here is to regain control. We seem as a people and as a government or government at every level to have lost control of the situation as of today.
Me, I will not, I'm talking from an intellectual point of view.
Yes.
I will not say government has lost control. Because some people are describing Nigeria as a failed state. We have not reached out to that level. What is happening has never happened before. That's why all of us are agitating. That, oh, why should this happen? Because it has never happened before. Having said that, I want to chip in one or two things, sir. The issue of a pressman not disclosing the source of information until there's declaration of emergency. I think we passed what we call Freedom of Information Act. Am I right?
Yes, we do have.
So freedom of information makes you to declare the source of your information to help the country. When we are talking of insecurity, government should take care. Citizens should also help. How the government can be helpful in this direction. That's what we call Freedom of Information Act, which means that every information you are empowered or you are made to disclose them.
No, you are
Secondly,
not. As a journalist, you are not obliged to disclose your source of information. Not disclosing the information, but disclosing your source of information. The Freedom of Information Act does not obviate that right of the
most of the Freedom of Information Act puts public institutions
public
under an obligation, not private individuals.
We are saying there are public institutions who are under the press. Then, having said that, let's move from there. The second issue I want us to look at is that until we, the elites, reach a consensus on how to run this country, we may not get to anywhere. Intellectually, when you go to the concept of state of emergency, he said it, have read it, have taught it. That means that you have to boycott whatever the Constitution is saying. And hereby is saying that no, it's a violation of the Constitution. When you are talking of state of emergency, you cannot control when you are not in control. And you still go through these democratic processes. Academically, if you are talking of state of emergency, you are talking violation of democracy, violation of human rights, and so on and so forth. Definitely you have to violate. The degree of violation is what we, the elites in Nigeria, have not reached consensus over. Are we going to suspend our political structure? Is the governor asking for state of emergency ready to resign? And says, okay, pull a sole administrator for 6 months, for 1 year. It's not forever. Sure. Until we get that consensus, we may not be able to find solution to all this problem. All these are allegations. They are saboteurs. Politicians are involved. Can't we carry all this information to the right quarters? If we have evidences to prove all these allegations, to me, we still believe it's at the perimeter of allegations. Because not many of us can prove what is happening. Until we are able to reach consensus as elites, we may not get anywhere. Let's agree, if it's my position as a president and they want to declare state of emergency, you should be ready to step aside for 6 months. It's not forever. For 1 year, let all the governors understand, let all the chairmen and even the president and National Assembly understands that when we want to declare state of emergency, it's not, I remember the state of emergency one state declared. He said that the state of emergency in education. And do you know what he called state of emergency? It's cutting the salary of workers by 30%. So that's the state of emergency.
But there are also situations where states of emergency are declared when there are natural disasters, for instance. I mean, across the world, we have seen situations where flooding has caused the declaration of state of emergency. It didn't necessarily mean
when you are talking of
dismantling of...
We are talking of flood. Are you getting it? Because it means that, as I said, you boycott all this process of procurement, and so on and so forth.
So why can't that be the same situation in this instance, in terms of security? That's the question.
We have tried it. The IG of police have recruited police. The president have told us he has recruited 1,000 or 100,000 police. If you go to Chief of Army Staff now, we tell you, recently they told us that they have imported about 6 plane.
To Kano.
Yes. Are you getting it? So we have declared all this by cutting unnecessary things. The Minister of Finance has told us the millions and trillions that we have pumped into the army, into the military, to address all this insecurity. All these ones we are talking now, we have tried them. Recruiting more, putting more resources there, we have done that.
Okay, Mr. Kakal, let me come back to you. The second leg of our discussion has to do with what the governor of Katsina State, Bello Masari, also said or proposed when he said citizens should arm themselves and defend themselves against the activities of these bandits who are, as it were, being killing, maiming, raping, and all manner of dastardly crimes. Now, the question is, which is almost like a corollary to what the Zamfara state governor has said, if citizens were to take up arms or were to arm themselves and defend themselves, how far can that go in solving the current situation? All right.
Want to repeat it,
I'm sure there is some technical hitch there, but let me direct that question to you and see how we can sort that out very quickly.
Sorry, let me hear you again.
Yes, the proposer, or rather,
Okay, that citizens should defend themselves.
Themselves.
Well,
Yes.
well, I'm sure Prof will agree with me from an intellectual point of view that let us not, in the course of attempting to solve one problem, create another. If you say citizens should acquire weapons or arms to protect themselves, then you are legalizing the possession of firearms. And those with bad intentions will get these arms and use them for the wrong purpose. Now, a normal human will find it very difficult to pull a trigger against anyone. And how many normal humans will be able to buy and keep up to 100 live ammunition, for instance? The bandits and terrorists come with this ammunition in their numbers. So they come, you have 10 cartridges in your home or 20. They will wait for you to exhaust what you have. And they take on you. Of course, even if we are allowed to use firearms for self-defense, nobody will allow you acquire and keep an AK-47 rifle, for instance. But these bandits and terrorists have these weapons. They have AK-47, they have AK-49, and assault rifles, which no government will allow you and I possess. So it will still be an effort in futility, and of course, empowering the bad people. The people who are doing these things are ready to die at any time T. But you and I are not ready to. So you are sleeping, you are not expecting anyone. People come, your home is surrounded. And because you have one double barrel gun, you feel you can protect yourself against these people. No, that will not work. You know, so in summary, let's not, in the course of trying to solve this national problem, create other problems. Because at the end of it, sir, mopping out these arms from the hands of people who will have them will become a very serious problem. It will become a very serious problem.
So, and I think the Minister of Defense said something along that line when he says that it is responsibility of government to protect the people. But in a situation where it's obvious that those who are expected to protect the individual, the individual citizen, seem to have failed to do so, what is then expected of the citizen? Should he or she just sit back, wait, and become a practice target or so for these bandits or these terrorists?
In political science class, the coercion of power is in the hand of government. That is why from the theories of politics and governance, citizens have given their rights to the government. If you are not capable as a governor, as a minister of defense, it's better you resign. Citizens can never defend themselves because the supreme power of coercion is not with citizens. It's with the government. So if you cannot exercise it, you are the one, you can force us to pay tax. Individuals cannot pay. You can go to the international community and buy arms and ammunition. Individuals cannot go. So if you cannot do it, let's face the reality. Let's face the reality. Any governor, any defense minister, even the president saying that citizens should defend themselves should resign and give those who can do it. It's the responsibility of government to secure us. You should not put the blame or the responsibility on the citizens. The citizens are not capable. 70% of us are battling with poverty. How can we buy cutlass or even of Dagon to defend when we have not eaten squarely in a day? So it's not possible.
Is this a fallout of a dysfunctional federal system? Because like Mr. Oga said at the beginning, the governors have always insisted as chief security officers of their various states that it's just on paper, that they do not have what it takes to perform that responsibility, because almost every structure, every security structure is in the hands of federal agencies and the federal government.
Sir, I beg to disagree. Because every time we are seeing on the television and the newspaper that the governors are funding security, buying vehicles for them, buying gadgets for them.
Collecting security votes.
So if you are paying, if you are funding an organization, and you are telling us that you don't have any control over it, even with technology now, if you are a GOC in Port Harcourt, and the chief of army staff is in Abuja, is he not to pick a call? Sir, that's infraction, security-wise. I want to send troop there. There's email, there's WhatsApp, that will give you instant approval. So why are we saying that? Are they going to carry approval paper from Port Harcourt to Abuja? No, how many days will it take for the chief of staff to approve? No. If a GOC is telling you that he has to wait for order, or commissioner of police is waiting for order from the IG, I think there's something wrong. Technology has helped us beyond this. We are still thinking of 70s or 80s or 90s, where the commissioner will have to run back to Abuja or send a message and so on and so forth. Technology has helped us to advance. If you are not making use of the technology, there's something wrong with us fundamentally. It's best practices, it's not the law again.
All right, let's try and see if we can reconnect with Mr. Kaka in New York. Mr. Kaka, if you are there, I hope you can hear us now. You need to unmute your microphone so that you can respond to our hearing here. And the second aspect of our discussion, which we are on, is the proposal by the Katsina State Governor, Bello Masari, that citizens should arm themselves and defend themselves against bandits. How does that sit well with you as a security expert?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
First, that is a drastic call to anarchy. But, we are gradually, apparently, and unfortunately getting there. You see, I would like to commend the Nigerian military and the Nigerian police are known worldwide for their intervention, and their track records are there. And look at the successes that are being recorded in the Northeast, especially in Borno, and the Northwest and other parts of the country, because of the new blood and the new leadership, obviously, in charge. So I fail to accept the fact that they cannot handle the situation. We are having a problem of maybe political will to hunt down those elites and politicians who are behind this. But going back to Governor Masari's call, obviously, when you are a governor in Katsina or Zamfara or Borno, it's just heartbreaking that your citizens are being massacred daily. And unfortunately, you don't have to tell them to protect themselves. We are very close to getting to a point where people will arm themselves anyway, unless the system responds to their calls. People are scared. You cannot sleep in your house, and obviously, this matter of grammar of anarchy is from people who are living in safe places. But if you live in those places, you don't have to be told to protect yourself. Unfortunately, this is where we are, and this is where we are finally heading. You know, the security, the Nigerian police and the Nigerian army, and even the DSS, a fine institution, they have the capability and the capacity to respond to the yearnings of Nigerians. But unfortunately, the political will to hunt down these politicians and these elites that are feeding fat from this insecurity is what the president needs to wake up to. You know, as the prof has said, if the Minister of Defense cannot defend Nigeria, why is he there? If the National Security Advisor cannot defend Nigeria and under this circumstance, why are they on seat? If they cannot resign, you know, in good conscience, you know, fire the hell out of them. That's what you need to do.
All right.
You understand? You cannot be keeping people who are not bringing results, you know, or bringing bad results. You know, the Nigeria has become a big embarrassment in the international community.
Mr. Kaka,
You know,
thank you so much. I'm
know,
afraid we are running out of time very fast, and we have to draw the curtain here. Thank you so much. Mr. Abba Kaka is a security specialist. He joined us virtually via Zoom from New York in the United States. Thank you for your time, and thank you for making the sacrifice to be with us at this time of the day. And here in the studio, Professor Kamal Bello is a professor of politics and administration at the National Open University of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us. And Mr. Max Oga is a legal practitioner who is based here in the nation's capital. Thank you for giving us the legal perspectives to all of this.
Thank you for having us this afternoon.
All right, that's our program for today. Please join us again. We'll bring you a fresh edition of People, Politics, and Power. Bye for now.